to categorize them. I did read St. Thomas's breakdown of a couple different kinds of sorrow. Sorrow in general is a response to things that are bad. So things that are not as they should be, a deprivation of the good. And that sorrow, that pain of heart that we experience when we've been hurt by somebody, when we're struggling and failing, when our health is affected, when there's some significant loss, when we feel overwhelmed by the threats in the world, when there is an evil present that we can't overcome, then we experience sorrow. And that's the appropriate human emotional response. And that's been one of the things that has been most important for me to be able to speak clearly about and to have a lot of compassion for, and the people that I work with, is sometimes we can be shamed about sorrow. Any of the negative emotions, fear, anger, sorrow, aversion, and dislike, that we can be shamed about that. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Christians should be joyful. You're not allowed to. You have these kinds of problems. Just get over it. You know, anxiety is from the enemy. Just stop it. Pray more. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff out there that can make people feel like there's something wrong with them because they feel badly. But when there are things that are wrong, there's a reason to feel badly. And the starting point is to understand what's there. What's happening in me? What do I feel badly about? What's this sorrow coming from? And the capacity for sorrow, I've learned so much from Conrad Bars, who is you could say the father of Catholic psychotherapy. He took St. Thomas Aquinas' anthropology and used that as the lens to sort of refactor psychology, which at his time was really only Freudian psychology, and envisioned it through St. Thomas's fuller picture of the human person. And he renamed the concupiscible appetites as the humane emotions. It's part of what makes us human. So the ability to feel badly about bad things, to experience sadness when there are things to be sad about, which goes hand in hand with the opposite, to feel joyful about good things, to have desire and love for good things. All of this is an embodied way of responding to the world at the level of natural goods to moral goods and supernatural goods, that I could actually have a response of joy in the presence of the Blessed Sacrament is an elevated form of humanity. And if I don't leave room for sorrow and joy, then I don't leave room for if I don't leave room for sorrow, I don't leave room for joy either. And for various reasons, and we'll get into some of the remedies and the reasons in our conversation, but we can end up suppressing those emotions under what St. Thomas calls the irascible appetites, what Conrad Bars calls the energy or the assertive emotions, which are things like hope and courage, but also anger and fear, and then despair is its own interesting energy emotion. But we can end up achieving, striving, running. There's ways that anger and fear and even hope and courage can push down sorrow and joy, so that we don't actually enjoy the present moment, so that we don't savor what's happening in front of us and what's going on in us now.
That's certainly been true in my own life. There are times where I think, why can't I enjoy this? You know, maybe 5 years ago, if this had have happened to me, I would have been elated, but now can't seem to pluck up the joy. So I guess my question is, what does that say about us when we don't feel sorrow over bad things that have happened to us, or joy over good things we're experiencing?
Well, I think we're often living in a little bit of threat mode in that case. So our nervous system is activated, and we're in those energy emotions a bit more. And so what modern neuroscience is identified as threat response, fight or flight. We tend to be a bit elevated to achieve the next thing, to be on guard against the next threat. And all of that elevation then keeps us out of just resting in the good, or even resting in the bad, in the sense of being able to be present and sorrowful over things that are not good. a lot of times what we need to help us, and this was another insight of Conrad Bahr's, was we need the emotional affirmation of the gift of those emotions and our own heart's responses. We need someone to be in relationship with who experiences us as a gift and helps us to feel that through their response to us. It's related to one of St. Thomas's remedies for sorrow and the sympathy of a person who loves us. And so that gives me permission when, and I just had the blessing of experiencing you with your family, your children, and you can rejoice when your son discovers something, does a magic trick, or finds a lizard. We were doing a little tour of the shrine of Our Lady of La Leche, and he had a lizard being able to go to a place. And likewise in friendship, our capacity to help others is going to be limited by our own woundedness or our own lack of inner healing, freedom.
People are talking a lot more about anxiety today. I don't know if they still are, but I kept hearing that. Where is that coming from, and what is it?
We use that word in such a variety of ways. That has a clinical psychological meaning. I'm not sure it's exactly the same as St. Thomas's meaning.
Yeah, sure, and not to cut you off, but maybe 100 years ago, people were using the word nerves, like her nerves are shot. So perhaps we're referring to the same phenomena over time. It's just that when a new word occurs to sort of identify the thing, perhaps we think it's a new phenomena. I don't know if it is or it isn't.
Yeah, I guess I'm inclined to recognize the real deficiency in our modern times as a lack of affirmation in Bahr's sense, a lack of committed relationships, of love, in another way of saying it. And part of anxiety can be, in some sense, the uncertainty of whether I'm good. To not have the ground, the emotion.
That's so true. Like, committed relationships and love, I don't know, I think. Especially if you're like, at least for me in college, being far away from my family and stuff. Can be tough.
Ground to stand in confidence and know that my life is a gift. And then I'm anxious about proving it, earning it, what people are thinking about it. And those things go, again, sort of into our nervous system. They would be in the level of the cognitive function in St. Thomas's terms. It's not a rational idea that I've come up with and I can therefore correct by getting my ideas straight. It's something that I have to receive into my bones, into my nervous system, into my flesh from another. We receive this gift from another. We're meant to be in relationship and meant to receive love. And in some sense, we only see our face in the face of another. I'm receiving myself from you right now. Your nods and your eye contact, your attention is telling me that I'm worth listening to and that I have something meaningful to say and that you're taking it in. And all of that is reinforcing what's happening in me. I can't do that in a mirror. I can't do that in an abstract way. We receive that through relationships. And I think that's the big breakdown in our world today is we have steadily moved to more and more separation in relationships. What I've experienced in your family over the weekend has been such a joy because you really love each other, you're present to each other, you care about each other, you affirm each other's existence and goodness, and it's just tangible. And I think it's more and more rare. I think the breakdowns in the family, and it's a cascading problem because you can't give what you don't have. And obviously we heal through relationships, and I'm sure in some way your family is an improvement. You've tried to take the next generation in a better place, but you've received a lot from other people who have received you and loved you and filled in some of the holes that perhaps your parents left. But our society is spinning apart at the seams, and that leaves people with a deep malaise of like, am I good? Is my life worthwhile? Does it matter if I show up? Do I have anything to offer?
Wow.
I think that leads to a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone could disagree with that, because I think we would all acknowledge that if a child after birth is completely neglected. Maybe it's fed by a machine or something like that, and a human being comes and looks at it every so often, but it's sort of raised by computers and machines. That person is going to be really deficient. And yet if we've received, if there's been a poverty in our relationships with our caregivers, I mean, anyone who's been adopted, they talk about this, right? As great as their adoptive parents are, there's this hole there, this desire for something, their birth parents, that relationship. So the idea that if you've had a negative experience with your family, or they weren't able to provide what they should have provided for you when you were young, that would have no ill effect on you in a way that, as you say, gets into your nervous system, seems like a strange thing to posit.
Yeah, so some of the scientific ways of expressing this, so the realm of interpersonal neurobiology, is recognizing that even our neural pathways are